Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for the Top 5 Risk Avoidance Strategies for Contractors webinar. This webinar is brought to you by AIA Contract Documents. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to today's presenter, Andy Mendelsohn.
Thank you, Hasti, and thanks to you and your colleagues for inviting me to present this webinar on risk avoidance strategies for contractors. Let me offer some introductory comments, my perspective on the construction industry. Construction projects are investments, and they are inherently risky investments. Every project is unique, even if it is a prototype, due to varying site and other existing conditions, local codes and ordinances, and just the unpredictable nature of design and construction being kind of handmade products. Projects continue to evolve in complexity with increasing owner expectations for energy performance and other sustainable goals, elevating standards for resilient design to withstand the impact of severe weather events and other aspects of climate change, and demands for acceleration of project schedules, all within defined and often insufficient construction and project budgets. In 2020 and 21, additional risk issues emerged due to COVID-19, such as disruption of access to construction sites, increased sanitation and hygiene requirements, and reduced trade worker capacity at the site. Very importantly, there's been significant disruption in the supply chain of material, systems, and products, contributing to high rates of construction inflation and putting challenges on meeting scheduled demands. Regarding risk allocation, our perspective is that the primary beneficiaries of the project are the owner and users, particularly when you consider the long life of a building or infrastructure project. Yes, design firms get paid a fee for services and contractors earn profit as a component of construction cost, but the primary value is to the owner. Therefore, owners must accept the majority of the risk on a project, arrange proper funding and financing, and establish and maintain contingencies as part of their project budgets and schedules. That being said, the contractor and design team are part of the owner's risk management team, having the necessary skills and experience in order to provide services and fulfill contractual obligations towards a satisfactory result for the owner. Contractors accept significant risk in this process, primarily the obligation to construct the project in accordance with the plans, specs, and other contract documents for the price agreed upon, whether that is a fixed price, lump sum, cost plus a fee with a GMP, which is typical in construction management at risk, or other price certain strategies such as design build. Contractors that are well established and experienced with strong leadership and business management practices, including a commitment to quality construction, can attain reasonable, even significant profit in the process, in balance with the risks that they take. Berkeley Alliance managers and Berkeley Construction Professional encourage our insureds to establish a risk management policy and plan for your construction firm. A risk management policy and plan for your company is an essential element of loss prevention and a key ingredient of financial success. When your risk management plan is embraced by leadership and integrated into your company's culture, it will have a significant positive impact on business performance. At Berkeley Construction Professional, we view risk management as an integral component of business, project, and financial management. Today's presentation is one of a series of AIA document-sponsored webinars and follows the program we conducted earlier this year, Developing a Risk Management Plan for Your Construction Company, which is available on the aiacontracts.org/learn page. So my name is Andy Mendelsohn, and I am the Senior Vice President and Chief Risk Management Officer of Berkeley Alliance Managers. Our company is a division of the W.R. Berkeley Corporation. We're an operating unit, and we serve primarily the design and construction industries through Berkeley Design Professional and Berkeley Construction Professional. Personally, I'm a licensed architect with over 36 years in practice before I joined the company 8 years ago. one of the founders of the company, to head up risk management. Got a varied and deep experience as project manager, market leader, contracting officer, and CFO of a large A&E firm in Chicago known as OWP&P. And then I was director of practice management for Canon Design from 2009 to 2013 after Canon Design absorbed OWP&P in the merger of the two companies. So since the onset of Berkeley Design Professional and Berkeley Construction Professional, we created some terrific risk management resources. We deliver risk management education from the practitioner's perspective. My own commitment to the industry consists of service to AIA Documents Committee for about 15 years and on the LFRT Legal Committee, and currently I'm very active on the ACEC Risk Management Committee. So our mission at Berkeley Alliance Managers is to be a leading provider of professional liability insurance to the design and construction markets, offering innovative solutions and the right combination of products and services to help design and construction professionals improve and protect their businesses. On the construction side, we have a large cadre of underwriters, 15 underwriters that have significant experience writing construction professional liability. We also have a robust staff of claims examiners and managers, about a half a dozen who are devoted to the construction practice. And we try to deliver real-world risk management education through our risk management department. A brief word on AIA contract documents. They've been standard form contracts since 1888. They are considered to be the industry standard. It's an iterative drafting process that involves a number of participants and liaisons. And the reason why they are fair and balanced is because Documents Committee does get the input from other industry stakeholders outside of the design industry, including the construction industry, subcontractor, trade associations throughout the supply chain of design and construction. So contractors and subcontractors are heavy users of AIA documents, so I'm pleased to be able to present today's webinar to help educate our construction community. It's a typical legal notice and disclaimer. The information provided by my company and AIA contract documents is general interest and risk management purposes only and is not legal advice. You should be getting legal advice from a skilled attorney experienced in the laws and regulations of the jurisdiction in which your projects are occurring. Same thing with the practice management side. I'm going to be providing recommendations based on my own experience and that of our company. But again, the way you implement them is really dependent on how you interpret this information and integrate it into your firm standards and protocols. So our workshop outline is going to follow, the 5 top risk mitigation strategies. Stay focused, contracting and project approval, maintaining staff resources, including working with firms that you know, actively managing subs, and managing quality and project delivery. So let's start with the first one, which is stay focused. Basically seeking projects that are a fit with your expertise and experience. And let me provide some examples. If you're a flooring contractor working in the residential markets, be the best that you can be with expertise in various finishes that clients, that homeowners, their architects and designers are demanding. Wood, stone, porcelain, ceramic, even vinyl or other sheet goods. When you go into the commercial or institutional markets, projects and buildings that have a higher degree of use, the project options expand, and there's additional demands and considerations for durability and long-term maintenance. As a flooring specialist, it's important that you understand all the criteria that impact the installation and long-term maintenance of your products, such as the integrity of the substrate, such as the moisture content of the space. It's critical that you are able to keep up with newer products, newer adhesive systems as well, and that you adhere to manufacturing specifications and instructions. If you're an HVAC contractor, it's important to keep up with advancements in technology, temperature controls, filtration, other things that are impacting increasing demands by clients on energy performance and indoor air quality, especially in the commercial, corporate, and institutional environments. Understand that you have professional liability risk as an HVAC contractor if you are designing and engineering as well as installing HVAC systems, which is common in many project delivery methods, not just design build. Then if you're a general contractor working in private markets and you're interested in all this money that's now going into public projects, particularly with the federal infrastructure initiatives that are just passing through Congress and the President's desk now, you might be wondering, can I succeed in the public bidding market? Well, there's a lot of criteria for that. Personally, I spent most of my design career designing and managing construction for public buildings in the K through 12 and higher education markets, as well as other public projects. And it's different. There are different criteria for public bidding, whether it be the qualifications, the process of bidding, the need to follow the bidding requirements to the letter of the specifications in order to be responsive and responsible in your bid submission. There's really not much flexibility at all when you're bidding public work as compared to private work, where you have the opportunity to negotiate. So there's a different level of expertise and experience depending on the scale and nature of the project, whether you're a general contractor or a subcontractor or a specialty contractor. So no matter what those projects are, you want to take on projects where you have adequate capacity of leadership and staff. And this is a challenge. It has been for some time, and it's gotten even worse as the design and construction economy have come back after a brief recession in the second quarter of 2020. There has not been an overabundance of trade workers, of craft workers, as well as skilled people leading construction projects and construction management. So you need to be careful to take on projects where you actually have the capacity to perform them satisfactorily. We think it's also important that you work with owners that you know and trust, that they have the capability to implement the project type in the location where it will be built, and that they share the same values that you do in terms of particularly the quality of construction. Are they looking to build something cheaply, or are they looking to build something of quality that is going to last for the long term? Are they properly funded and financed, or are they expecting you to take on risk at the beginning of the project? And of course, will you be able to earn fees as a construction manager, or the general conditions that you have as a general contractor that is going to make this risk that you take on as a contractor worthwhile in the course of the project? So you want to be working with owners that treat contractors, CMs, as well as design professionals fairly. You want to make sure that they're going to enter into reasonable contracts and that they don't have a history of filing litigation against contractors and design professionals. Now, we know that firms wish to grow, and so part of the focus we wish to have you take is that you think globally, but you act regionally, and understand that as you expand, whether it be the types of specialty work that you offer and possibly services, or you are expanding into a different geographic region, that you need to know those markets and the legal and regulatory environments that exist in those particular locations. I'm speaking to you from Chicago, Illinois, where I've spent my career, and in fact where I grew up. And about 90 miles to the north of us is Milwaukee, which currently has a pretty robust construction market going on as well. And then about 150 miles to the southeast is Indianapolis, another major city with a lot of work going on. But just because those areas seem like they're fairly close to Chicago, if you're a Chicago contractor, you need to understand that there's the legal, regulatory environment, just the realities of business practices, the politics. It takes a pretty significant investment to get another office established, to get a foothold in that new location and be able to be successful. I know of at least one very successful Chicago area general contractor that made a strong commitment to Indianapolis about 25 years ago when I was doing a lot of work there as part of an association we had with another firm there, and they have been able to endure there over the long term and are one of the well-established construction companies in that area. But it doesn't work for everyone. And what we like to see you do is never lose sight of where your local market is and maintaining that strength and presence in your local market. If you are going to expand, sometimes it's a client that will take you there. You have a long-term relationship with an owner that builds multiple projects, and maybe they have a project in another city, and it seems like a pretty good setup for you to be able to establish maybe a satellite office and move forward with that project. So rather than going someplace and starting cold, you've got a basis of a long-term relationship. When you do have a multi-office and multi-location firm, what's important is that you develop company policies, processes, and protocols that are consistent across those offices that can facilitate quality and efficiency in project delivery, and that can hopefully help ensure that you're going to have financial success with these satellite offices or for an acquired company, as well as maintaining your profitability in your home office. One of the things you need when you do an acquired company, acquired office, is a well-designed integration plan where senior members of your company from the home office commit to the success of that satellite office, spend time there, have regular communication with the leader or leaders of that office to try to integrate satellite offices with your home office to the highest degree that you can. Well, as kind of a person who has devoted them a lot of their career to risk management, controlling your contracting and project approval process is high on the list of what we consider to be the key criteria of risk mitigation. What's very important, of course, is that the leaders of your projects really understand what your contractual commitments are. Here's an example of the AIA 8201 2017 version, the general conditions of the contract for construction. It is a 41-page document without edits that attaches to the owner-contractor agreement forms. And those of you that might be listening in that are architects or engineers, this document is about twice as long as a standard owner-architect agreement. So there's a lot in there. And some of the key responsibilities are listed here. Of course, the contractor has the responsibility for means, methods, and procedures of construction to fulfill the requirements of the plans and specs and other contract documents, to establish and maintain site safety procedures, policies, and protocols. Unlike design professionals who operate under a professional standard of care, contractors operate under a warranty and guarantee standard. That's different. That means you're actually going to warrant the completion of the project for a certain period of time. Standard warranty might be 1 year, but there's many products and systems that are embedded within the project that are specified in the contract documents that have extended warranties and guarantees, particularly roof systems. You're also responsible to follow the schedule that is defined in the contract documents and that your performance is timely. And then the general contractor has responsibility for all of the subcontractors. So the basic premise of construction law is that risk should be allocated to the party that is best able to manage it. It needs to be considered which party can best foresee the risk, which party can best control the risk, which party can best bear the risk, and which party benefits or suffers if the risk materializes. So The purpose of construction agreements and design agreements is to have an understanding with the owner which risks the design professionals are taking, which risks the contractors are taking, and which risks are maintained within the owner. So regarding project approvals and project selection, we suggest that you establish a standard process for the way you pursue projects, decide on the projects you wish to go after with a go, no-go process, and have a process within your firm where you have a set of checks and balances, first with proposals, who's allowed to author them, who's going to review them, who's going to approve them before they are submitted to the project owner or client. It really starts with the proposal and then continues to the contracts. The proposal is the first step in the contracting process. So not every person in your company, even if they are at a project manager level, is necessarily authorized to approve proposals and contracts. But in any case, we recommend that there always be a second set of eyes looking at these, so that it tends to be, the project manager or project executive that is putting together these proposals. And when you get that close to it, sometimes you might miss some of the key phrases, some of the key words that perhaps leave you open-ended in terms of your obligations. So having a second set of eyes, a set of checks and balances in the proposal and contracting process is important. And it's important that you get the appropriate legal review and advice. I dare say that construction contracts are even more complex than design contracts, and that there should always be a legal review of a construction contract. Some of you may have firms that are large enough where you have devoted risk managers, and those people may have the level of skill that's necessary, and you may be large enough where you actually have in-house corporate counsel that can do this. So in any case, we recommend very diligent review of the contracts, and that you consistently follow and enforce your protocols. What's important in any contract is that the intent and parameters of the project be defined. Now, if you're a general contractor bidding on public work, it's all laid out for you. It's all in the contract documents. There's plans, there's specifications, there's a project manual, there's bidding requirements, there's other conditions that are bound within the contract documents, and that basically establishes the intent and parameters of the project. But if you're a general contractor that's able to engage with the project owner early on in the project, or if you're a construction manager or a design builder who is necessarily involved in the upfront portions of the project, you have the opportunity to better understand and even form some of the parameters of the project, the scope, the schedule, the budget, both from an overall project perspective and the construction budget. The contracts, no matter what they are, whether in the public realm or the private realm, need to identify the project team, the designers, the architects and engineers, the owner's designated representative, other consultants that might be involved that are perhaps retained directly by the owner, and the construction members and the members of the construction management team. There may be certain aspects of construction that the owner is going to self-perform. And if so, those criteria, those considerations and conditions need to be defined in the contract. There may be other criteria, particularly sustainable goals, LEED certification, well building, something like that. There might be entitlements or other financing criteria. Perhaps you're doing a new project development and there's some roadway improvements or an intersection or an expressway exit or entrance ramp that it needs to be approved by local and state government. Perhaps there's some federal funding involved. And those aspects of the project, peripheral aspects of the project, need to go ahead before your project proceeds. That's be an important component of financing. Certainly an important component of the schedule. And then along with that, there might be a public approval process. So these have direct impacts on your projects and the way they are contracted, and in particular, the schedule for performance of the project. So when you have the ability to participate up front in the project as a construction manager or a pre-selected general contractor, there are services that you will be providing, pre-construction services, as part of the ownership and design team being able to formulate the project and provide input based on your experience regarding material selection, systems, budgeting, scheduling, very importantly, of course, cost estimating. So there's a long list. I'm showing here an A101 agreement, which is the lump sum document. But if I showed the construction management agreement forms, there's a long list of services that a construction manager can perform, and it needs to be determined which of those you're going to be providing and which those you will not be providing. In any contract, once it proceeds towards construction, there should be a list of the applicable construction and contract documents. As an example, in this A101 agreement, it's a pretty short agreement. It's only about 5 pages long. And a good portion of that is actually the list of construction documents and contract documents that apply to the project. The terms and conditions are really bound within the A201, that 41-plus page document that sets forth the general conditions. Very important for you as a contractor is the realization by the owner that changes are going to occur, that change orders will occur, and that there needs to be a change management protocol and approval process if the project criteria changes, if there are unforeseen conditions, if there are errors, omissions in the construction documents that are identified in creating additional work, or if your duties are modified or those of any other project participant that might impact your cost to do the work and your schedule. So having change management protocols defined is very important, and they typically are in the A201, but these documents can be modified as any AI document can be. So you need to be careful to understand and what those criteria are, what those processes are, and that you can have a reasonable process in order to request, receive authorization for, and get paid for change orders. You want to disclaim services that belong to others, the owner, the design professionals retained by the owner, government agencies and other authorities having jurisdiction over the project. And again, the A201 does a very good job of doing that. You also need to be able to rely on owner-provided information, surveys, geotechnical and other subsurface reports, environmental reports, construction material testing, which is usually contracted directly by the owner to be independent of the contractor. And as I mentioned earlier, if you're doing public work, you have to be responsive to the contract and bidding document requirements. I once had a situation where we designed a major new high school in the north suburbs of Chicago, really a great project. And we had a bidder come in that wasn't used to bidding on public work, and they had a good price. In fact, they were the low bidder. Unfortunately, they had qualifications on their bid where they diverged from the specifications, from other aspects of the contract documents. They became unresponsive, and as a result, the owner deemed them to be not responsible nor responsive, and they passed over that contractor to the next low bidder who was, in fact, responsive exactly to the letter of the contract documents. So it was a very expensive situation for that original low bid contractor. They filed a lawsuit, which they lost. They even had some obligation to pay for some of the owner's legal fees. And so they learned on the next bid that they did in the public realm that we're going to do it exactly as the plans and specs and addendum call for. And if we have some kind of alternative, and the bid documents allow for alternatives to be put forward separately, we can do that. But anyway, the importance of following the plans and specs is critical, really, in any type of project, particularly in public work. You should keep an eye on certain contract clauses. Indemnification, be wary of them. There are anti-indemnity statutes in certain states that are helping balance out these indemnification obligations. Indemnification is when the owner is asking you to step in and assume a risk on their behalf, and many of those are unfair. It's an issue that design professionals face all the time as well. Limitations of liability. This is a tactic used by design professionals and advocated by risk management advice, but contractors can use it as well. It's a way to balance risk and reward considerations, particularly when the scope of your work or the scope of your services are limited. What's important about those, though, are that if you are a general contractor and you do not have any type of limitation of liability, do not offer that to any of your subcontractors. Or if you're a design builder, be very careful if you decide to offer any of that to the design professionals, because properly written limitations of liability for downstream subcontractors and consultants are enforceable in most states in the United States. And if there is a large claim that arises out of the work of that subcontractor or subconsultant, and you've limited their liability, and the liability is actually, the risk is actually higher, you as a general contractor are going to be stuck covering that liability. We've seen a number of these situations happen in our claims defense over the last couple of years. Even when these limitations of liability seem to be really high, the damages are actually have been in excess of that. So be very careful about that. The waiver of consequential damages, which has been common in industry standard agreements since 1997, is very important. It's a way to control your potential liability. Waiver of consequential damages waives responsibility for loss of use, loss of profit, loss of business, loss of reputation on behalf of the owner. This clause actually evolved out of the construction industry, where there was severe loss by a contractor who was late in delivering a casino project. The casino was able to prove that there was about $1 million in profit per day that was lost, and there was a $30 million judgment against this contractor, and they only had $10 million in insurance and put them out of business. Well, that got the attention of the AGC and the AIA and the EJCDC and other organizations. So waivers of consequential damages became common in contracts starting in 1997. So be careful when these are stricken. You know, that doesn't mean that an owner can't try to delete it, but we recommend that you maintain that waiver of consequential damages. Also, the waiver of subrogation. This is a clause that helps minimize lawsuits and claims amongst the parties relating to property loss when a property insurance policy has stepped in and paid for that loss. Another thing to be very careful about is fast track and innovative product and system risk. You know, these days, in order to manage the extensive construction inflation and material availability issues we have due to the supply chain issues, projects are moving more and more in a fast-track direction, really more about pre-ordering material and systems. And so the purpose of that, of course, is so that you can receive these material and systems in time to have a reasonable construction schedule. So that's a benefit to the owner because it enables them to get their project completed by you as a contractor sooner rather than later. But there's additional risk. You know, what happens as the design evolves and something changes relative to that pre-ordered piece of equipment or system or that steel mill order that was put in. Owners need to maintain proper contingencies to deal with changes that can occur from fast track or early order equipment, material, and products. Innovative products and systems risk. You know, again, with the demands for sustainable design goals, for enhanced energy performance. There's new and innovative products and systems out there that, not all designers, not all contractors are familiar with. You haven't been using these for the last 20 years. It's important to be open with your owners and with the design team and saying, here's what we know about this product. Here's what we know about this system. We've done some research on it. It has been used successfully in other locations, perhaps overseas, perhaps other regions of the United States. But we, as a construction company, have not installed this. And we need your consent to utilize this product and system. So it's really a matter of the owner, the design team, and the contractors getting together and understanding the risks for using innovative products and systems, and for the owner's willingness to accept that risk. Because again, they are going to be the ultimate beneficiaries of that product and system in place to enable better energy performance and better overall quality of construction. So my last line here is don't work without a contract. We all know that once you win a project, there's a great impetus to get started, to get going. It might take some time to negotiate the owner-contractor agreement. Perhaps you can establish some sort of interim agreement that at least enables you to proceed with your work over maybe a 60-day period, lays out criteria for that, what you're going to do, what your deliverables might be, what your setup on the project site, what your mobilization might be and temporary conditions, and how you're going to get paid for that. And then if the contract is not negotiated after 60 days, perhaps you and the owner are willing to extend it for another 30 days, but there might be a situation where you're not able to execute a reasonable contract, and you may have to walk away from the project. So your interim agreement would need to deal with those conditions, making sure you're paid for what you did, and enabling the owner to utilize what you've put in place, if anything, and then having sufficient indemnities from the owner to you, since you won't be finishing the project. But hopefully that doesn't happen very often at all. You'll be able to get a contract implemented, properly negotiated, fair and balanced in a timely manner in order to maintain the project schedule that the owner wishes to have. So, construction contracts can be complex. They're in components. This is what they look like in the AIA world. As I've mentioned, the two on the left, the A101 is the fixed priced agreement. The A102 and the A103 are cost plus agreements, one with a GMP, one without, and then there's that A201 general conditions and any other supplementary conditions that might exist. There are exhibits to the agreement as well. In 2017, a number of my colleagues and AI attorneys went on a rather arduous effort to create an insurance exhibit. And that's A101 2017 Exhibit A, because the types and nature of construction insurance policies have gotten more complex over time. My company, Berkeley Construction Professional, offers a number of those policies, and it's important that they be memorialized in a separate document that doesn't clutter up the other documents but is a attachment to it. The E203 document is the BIM and digital practice, digital data practice protocol documents. So when BIM is being used on the project and is going to be exchanged with the contractors, this is one singular agreement that lays out the intended use of building information modeling and other digital data, the right to rely, the responsibility, ownership and copyright, that sort of thing. So very important that that be defined, because misuse of BIM documents and BIM files can create significant liabilities. And then E204 2017 is the Sustainable Project Exhibit. This is, again, a document that applies to the owner, the architect engineer, and the contractor, because each of those parties has a role in attaining a sustainable design goal. It's not specific to LEED. It can also work for well building or living building challenge. It does have to be customized, but it lays out the responsibilities of the parties to attain a sustainable goal. Very importantly, from a contractor's perspective, there is no guarantee or warranty offered on that a sustainable goal will be attained. It's a professional effort that is used towards it, but we all know that the certifying agencies and just the nature of design and construction prevents really any of the parties from offering a guarantee on those certifications, those sustainable design certifications. But most of those are successful. Most of those do attain the intent, and largely when it's very clear who's responsible for what and people working collaboratively towards that goal. Okay, maintaining staff resources and working with firms, you know. So in addition to having sufficient staff at the project level, it's critically important that your project leaders be experienced and skilled in the types of, soft skills that a project leader needs to have. Teamwork, communication, collaboration, coordination, the ability to juggle a lot of balls at one time, and the ability to be respectful of other members of the project team. There should always be sufficient presence and support at the executive level of your construction company. And again, in order to recruit people into your company and to maintain the excellent project executives and managers and engineers, superintendents that you have, you need to provide an attractive and supportive work environment through your company's culture, your vision, mission, facilities, and benefits, including, of course, compensation. So I think everybody, throughout business in general in the United States and around the world realizes this. But when you've got, design firms and construction firms that are struggling to keep up with the amount of work and trying to maintain the great staff that you have and recruit people, culture, core values, these things have an even important, greater sense of just significance for your firm. So, you want to develop and invest in your staff through training and development. And of course, you want to embed quality management in your company culture, your core values, and in project delivery. A little bit more on that later. So working with firms that working with design professionals, subcontractors, and others, that you have experience and expertise in the project type. I spoke earlier about the quality of the owner and their vision for the project relative to quality, and as well as their ability to finance the project and have funding in place and to be able to make decisions in a timely method. Well, these also apply to the design professionals that you work with. I mean, there might be a project that's led by a well-known architect that maybe you had a bad experience with in the past and you don't think you can overcome that. These would be elements of a go, no-go decision that we suggest you consider when you're really at the start of the project before you're even pursuing it. This happens to be a go, no-go project information checklist that we offer to our design professional clients, easily converted to the construction side to put that same criteria in. It's a combination of qualitative and quantitative analysis of a series of criteria. Our quantitative is a plus minus in that third column on the right. And when you total it all up, if the negatives are at a sufficient level, we're suggesting that you take a serious look at maybe not going after that project. So again, it's part of your focus, it's part of your strategy, it's part of taking on the kind of projects that you feel you're going to have a greater degree of success on. The point is to be making informed decisions on the projects you pursue and implement based on consistent criteria. So some of the questions you want to know about the design team: are they collaborative? Do they treat you fairly? Are they timely in response to your submittals, RFIs, and change requests? Do they review and process change orders fairly? Hopefully the culture and values of the design firms you're working with are strong and supportive in this regard. Professional ethics in the design business, whether it's the architectural or the engineering societies, require fairness, require a treatment of respect to all members of the project team. But, you know, we all know that there perhaps are some firms that don't follow those standards. And so, you know, maybe what you want to do is focus on those firms that you know are the right fit for you and are leading design firms in the project types and in the locations of your business. You know that they've been winning a lot of major projects, and that if you can establish a relationship with them, it would just help not only you're being given the opportunity to bid on and be successfully selected for a project, but then in the working relationships going forward. Item number 4 of our 5-item list is actively managing your subs. You know, very critical component, of course, because, you know, whether you're a general contractor or a construction manager or a design builder, you may be self-performing certain aspects of the trades, but the vast majority, in all likelihood, are being performed by subcontractors. So you need to make sure they're living by the same rules that you do in these key areas. This is an example of a contractor-subcontractor agreement, which is going to refer back to the prime agreement and the general conditions. Those contractual responsibilities and terms and conditions need to flow down. So whatever your obligations are as a general contractor or construction manager need to flow down to those subcontractors for the scope of their work. And again, as I mentioned earlier, don't limit their liability unless you have a similar contractual protection. You want your subcontractors to have a culture of quality construction and diligent client service. You want them to follow your protocols and have their own protocols for safety of the work environment, as well as working collaboratively with other subcontractors and yourself as general contractor or CM. And I think you want your subcontractors to also understand the big picture. You're working in the big picture as a general contractor or CM. And hopefully they are going to see that their piece of the project, while it might be small or it might be significant, still impacts that big picture. And there needs to be a certain amount of flexibility and cooperation that occurs in order for the entire team to be successful. Very importantly, your consultants, subconsultants, and subcontractors need to be properly insured for commercial general liability, and very importantly, environmental, pollution, and professional liability. As I mentioned in the example of the HVAC subcontractor, you know, also your steel fabricator and erector, specialty trades such as glass handrail systems, curtain walls, other aspects of exterior wall systems. There's professional liability involved in those trades, and thus it's involved for you because there's a certain amount of design that is delegated to those trades, you know, by the contract documents. Who knows better how to put together the final details of a curtain wall than the curtain wall manufacturer, as an example. So many of these design delegation duties have been traditional for a long time, as long as I've been an architect for over 40 years. You know, starting with steel, where final detailing of steel frame and decking and rebar has been the responsibility of the subcontractors and suppliers. So you do have some professional liability exposure there. Try to understand it. There's pollution exposure as well and environmental. So your company should establish criteria for policy limits that you have of your subcontractors and track that compliance. Make sure that that insurance certificate that they sent you at the beginning of the project, that now it's a year later or 2 years later that you're getting a renewed certificate, and that you have somebody at your office, in your business office, has the ability to look at that and know that it complies with the requirements that you've established. There might be some situations where you want to actually see the insurance policy of a subcontractor to make sure that the policy is properly reflected in the insurance certificate. So there is a complexity to construction insurance, and it's very important that the subcontractors be properly insured. So our last subject here is managing quality and project delivery. I once had a general contractor say something to me that was his mantra, and it became mine as well. It was do it nice or do it twice. And he said that to his own staff. He said that to his subcontractors at the beginning of the project. And it was part of his establishment of a culture of robust quality standards and controls. How frustrating is it when a subcontractor installs something that maybe even they knew was subpar? Then they've got to tear it out and redo it. So, why do that? Why not do it right to begin with? Now, let's foster an environment where meeting client expectations and contractual responsibilities are primary, even if it takes a little more labor and a little more expense to get it right the first time. So maybe there's a little bit of a compromise on your profit target, but overall, it's going to help your project be more profitable and certainly be on time and reduce the amount of frustration. So we like to see your team have quality as the top priority. Even with these short-term potential issues, your reputation is important, your client relationships are important over the long term, and create great value for you. So we also encourage thorough communication and sharing of best practices within your company. If you're a larger company that's got multiple projects going on, you may be discovering things as you're doing that project or as you're analyzing the project post-completion. Share that amongst your project team. The design and construction industry is evolving. Maybe it's not evolving as quickly as some other industries, but there are improvements in technology, in approach, and strategies. So let's try to gain those insights as the best practices and share it with the other members of your construction firm so that you can, going forward, can take advantage of those best practices that you've learned. One strategy in construction quality is to do peer reviews performed within your firm. Perhaps there's a project executive or project manager that's not working directly on the project but can look at your progress on the project at certain milestones as you've gone along. Maybe it's even the way you've outlined the schedule at the beginning or the way you're approaching certain complex tasks. Peer reviews to take advantage of the skills and expertise that exist in your company can be very effective and then again can inform those best practices. So those that review the work and offer fresh perspectives in a rotating manner can really help advance your quality standards and controls. Documentation is also very important. Documenting the project process and establishing the project record is typically done by the design professional prior to construction. But if you're a general contractor involved in pre-construction or a construction manager or design builder involved in pre-construction, you should be contributing to the project documentation file. I know there's a number of softwares, management systems that are available now, such as Procore, such as Newforma, PlanWise, things like that. And these are getting well established in the industry. But what's important is what goes into it, and that it be consistent and contemporaneous. And then particularly where you as the contractor is facing elevated risks. I mentioned earlier additional risks of fast-track projects generating field changes. I mentioned pre-ordering of material and equipment might require field changes. The untested technologies or cutting-edge design, the risks of those. So while challenging projects can be exciting and can test your firm's skills and keep you sharp, you need to fully understand and be prepared to diligently manage those elevated risks. And finally, it's good to establish internal contingencies. Not every change that occurs on the construction site, of course, is going to be eligible for a change order. So have internal contingencies to deal with those changes, in these custom-made projects that we're doing in every case so that you can absorb that which you're not going to be eligible for a change order on. So there's many aspects of quality and project delivery, and you'll need to establish the procedures and protocols for your firm, continue to revisit them, advance them with best practices and the experiences of the projects you have completed. So we are near the end of our program here. We'll have about 5 minutes left for Q&A. In summary, we've talked about 5 key areas of risk management and mitigation for contractors: staying focused, controlling contracting and project approval, maintaining staff resources and working with firms you know, actively managing your subs, and establishing and managing quality and project delivery. I'm showing you an image on the right from the berkeleycp.com website. This is our public website, and on the risk management page, we have a number of resources that are there for your viewing, including a top 10 list of managing professional construction risk from which this presentation was derived. But there's some pretty good information in there, and we recommend that you review it. And as I mentioned earlier, the webpage, aiacontracts.org/learn, will house the recording of this webinar as well as the prior webinars that have been conducted by AIA Contract Documents staff and subject matter experts. So there's quite a robust library developing there focused on construction. So here is my contact information, my office phone number, and my email.
I want to thank Andy for a great presentation, and thank you all for joining us today.